great to be here, and I think I speak on behalf of all the e-leads how thankful we are for the opportunity. I know your time is very busy, and we look forward to connecting the networks with our programs and services. So as Sarah mentioned, I am with the Learning Hub, and we are the Anglophone provider for the e-channel streams. Our program is offered by the Centers for Employment and Learning of the Avon-Maitland District School Board. We're located in the Western region, southwestern Ontario. If any of you are familiar with the Lake Huron area, that's where we pretty much reside. And we are funded by the Ministry of Advanced Education and Skills Development. And we provide online or blended e-channel or LBS, online LBS upgrading to LBS students across the province of Ontario. We support all of the OALCF levels and the 5 goal paths, and we do have the same progress indicators and reporting requirements as a classroom program. So shouldn't be too much different than what you're already accustomed to with your programs, just looking at it from an online provincial scope. So we offer online upgrading opportunities for reading, writing, math, other computer and essential skills, workplace skills, soft skills. I'll be providing some examples of that through our session today, and I know that Sarah is going to be circulating some handouts for you following the session and for those who perhaps weren't able to be here. We do have a shared learner model for CAMS reporting, so if any of your programs or several of your programs are using the Learning Hub, we do have a personal relationship with a lot of the LBS practitioners across the province. So we do have a way to coordinate our services together and make sure that we're complementing each other and making sure that we're both getting the information we need for CAMS and so on. We launched a new website this fall, which you may have encountered or not by this point. It's still fairly early days with the new design, and we did have, as these things go, not the smoothest startup to the website release, and also pairing it with a very busy time. The fall is always busy for us and for all of you as well. So it was not the best launch, but we got there, and we're really happy with the new design, and we hope that others find it easy to use as well. We released the website in September 2016, and it includes a refreshed registration form. So we do have a new cleaner form. It's a 5-step piece, but it's just a little easier for the learners to navigate through. We do have some improved course search tools, and we have a search bar. You can see it just beside the EO logo at the top there. So we do now have a site-wide search. If you're looking for something specific, you can narrow that down. We are mobile friendly. We have a 1-800 number now, a toll-free number, and we have our social media links right on our homepage now. So those are just some of the highlights of the new site. If you're familiar with the old system and you've encountered the new system, we hope that you like it. So our social media connections, as I mentioned, are on the homepage of our new website. We also have a contact link, and that's the image on the right here. We have an online web form on the left there, the send a message, and then we also have our newsletter sign-up tool. So if you want to be receiving our newsletter updates and email blasts and things like that, we welcome you to sign up and get on our mailing list. We also put information out through Facebook and Twitter, so I know we're connected with some of the other networks through those channels as well. So if you're looking for a quick way to find those links, they're on our homepage. And we are actually preparing a couple launches right now for our newsletter coming up in a couple weeks. So if you're interested in signing up, we will have something coming out shortly. This slide is one that I wanted to share. The Learning Hub's been doing some work over the past couple years, and I'm sorry, they the visual is kind of scrunched up when you put it into Saba, so I hope you can read it okay. Over the last couple years, we've been looking at the end of every quarter how many users from each literacy network are accessing the Learning Hub. And we've been refining this process as we go along. I think most of the networks who participated in the original postal code project to determine where everybody's coming from have been receiving these updates, and I think I am due to send a couple out. I'm just recently back in my role from a leave, so there will be something coming out shortly. I know that you guys like to have that and find it valuable to share with your organizations and your network staff. You will see that there is some unallocated postal codes that we are looking to shore up in the next couple of weeks as well. There's one network that I didn't receive information from, so we have requested that again and really hope to tighten that up. But overall, you can see on average where the learners are falling. We don't have a distinction between blended learners and strictly online learners. These are just strictly the users who are accessing our program that fall within your region. So I hope this isn't a new piece of information, because as I said, we do try and send it out quarterly to the executive directors of each network. And if you have any questions, feel free to connect with me, and I'd be happy to be in touch with you about it. So if you are looking to make referrals to the Learning Hub, or your programs are looking to make referrals to the Learning Hub, we do have an online referral form available on our website. I'm not going to take the time to jump out to the website during the session, because I know we want to keep the session moving and give everyone a chance to get through their material. But it is an online form. It's currently using the Fluid Surveys platform, so it can be filled out, and it just collects basic learner information, referring agency contact information, so who the referring LBS agency is, who their teacher is, their phone number, and so on. It does provide a piece where the learner is providing consent to make the referral. And then you can indicate if you're going to forward any assessment results or existing learning plan documentation if we're looking to do a shared effort towards that. And then we also have next step and follow-up information. So would you like us to send the learner instructions on how to register on their own? Would you like us to include you in further communication and things like that? And I know from the network sometimes it's as simple as making a referral and saying, please be in touch with this person. But for the LBS programs and their practitioners, they will want to include that personalized information. The referral form sometimes is accompanied and followed up with a registration, and sometimes is not. So certainly if you're making the referral and the learner doesn't follow through, that's fine. It's just a means for us to track some of those service coordination efforts between the programs. And we also have a paper-based form as well, and I know that the ACE folks use a paper-based form, and some of the other programs perhaps have that, and that's totally fine too. The online form is just an option. Our registration process is a three-step process. We have our registration form that's on our website, as I previously mentioned. The second step is completing our intake assessment and course selection. So once the learner submits the registration form, provides their consent, their information, all of that good stuff, then they are provided now with a confirmation email indicated that we did receive their registration, and providing them a login to select their courses and a link to complete the intake assessment. So that is the second step in order to gain entry into the program. And then the third piece is getting assigned to their online practitioner, doing some goal setting, learning plan development, getting assigned their classes or courses, and so on. So that's the process that the learner goes through. It is typical to how the in-person programs work. Unfortunately, as you know, we both have to collect the consent, we both have to have the registration form information, and we both have to navigate the world of CAMS. So that is just the flow of how somebody gets into the program. If they complete step 1 and they don't complete step 2, we do follow up and ask them to provide a link to get that intake assessment going and select their courses and so on. If somebody comes in and registers, does the intake assessment, but doesn't know what courses they want to take, that's fine. It's not going to delay their assignment to a practitioner. It just means they might want to have that conversation with somebody in the online program before they decide which courses they want to take. Our program has two methods of study. We have live classes using SABA, which we're all on right now, and we have anytime learning, including our short courses. So the SABA classes, as I mentioned, they're the live classes, as I mentioned, use the SABA platform. We have 3 schedules available throughout the year: September to December, January to March, and April to June. Our our January to March schedule will be posted on our website in December, and of course, as soon as it's up there and live, the learners can sign up for those classes. And our Anytime Learning is available 12 months of the year, 365, 24 hours a day, however they want to access that. So it's variety of platforms, variety of courses, just depending on what the learner wants to do, is how the practitioner and the learner decide what courses, what platforms to work on, and so on. Typically, with our Anytime Learning, we don't have learners on more than one platform at a time, because then they tend to get a little confused. Am I going here? Am I going there? But we certainly have learners doing a blended study, so live classes and Anytime Learning at the same time. So I already mentioned about the live classes and the schedules. We do have milestones built into our live classes now in some cases. And of course, the milestones are also a requirement for anytime learning. And those are just determined based on the learning plan, the agreed upon learning plan between the learner and the practitioner, and when it's appropriate to do that assignment. We are able to share milestones with blended learners, so indicating in CAMS if a learner has completed a milestone in the classroom or online, and just sharing that if we're working towards the same competency or the same type of curriculum. That's an option, which is nice because it really supports that blended model. And we do have some course bundles. I believe we have 5 of them. Sarah's going to circulate them following the session. Those are new in the past year, and it is just a way for us to package our curriculum in a sense that practitioners can look at it and say, my learner would benefit from all of these courses, some of these courses. It's not required that they work straight from A through to Z or whatever. They can pick and choose from them. It's just a way for us to package some of our light curriculums so that they have a clear picture on where they want to go or what courses they could take in sequence. The 5 bundles that we have are apprenticeship, college readiness, GED prep, personal growth, and retail and customer service. So I just wanted to mention them. Won't get into great detail because Sarah will be circulating the attachments following the session. Great. This is just a snapshot of a sample learner plan. As I mentioned, we have the same requirements for our data reporting. We have to have our files in CAMS, much like the classroom programs, but where we differ with the online delivery is we need to have an electronic learning plan that would be similar to the paper-based learning plan in the classroom learning. So we do have on our learner portal where our students go in and select their courses, we do have a learner plan that they can access, and they can review their progress, they can see what they've achieved, and it's just a really nice picture. They can share this with their classroom practitioner if they want to share access or bring it up and show them the learner plan. It's certainly the learner's document that they can choose to share if they want. So this is just a snapshot of what it looks like when the learner opens up their file, and you can see at the top there's a button where they can add their courses or view and remove their courses, and then at the bottom, of course, they can print that off, which is kind of nice. They could print that off and you could tuck that into their classroom learner file as well. So just really trying to connect the two pieces for the blended learners and give those classroom practitioners an opportunity to work with us and likewise. The mentoring and supports we have available, all of our learners who come into our program are assigned a one-to-one mentor, so they have that main contact that stays with them throughout the duration of their program, helps them set up that customized learning plan, and supports them along the way. Of course, with consent, connects with the classroom practitioner or referring agency as required. and just really personalizes that experience. We have various tech support options. We take calls, email, we have rescue sessions where we can either connect to the learner's computer or the learners can connect to the practitioner's computer, depending on the issue or their level of comfort with having somebody access information on their computer. But we do have those options available. Really, if there's an issue, we just get to the bottom of it and support the learner as best we can. And with our rescue sessions, we've even worked with some classroom practitioners as well. You know, sometimes their computer labs get upgraded or changed, or they're having issues connecting with a certain platform. So we have provided some support that way, practitioner to practitioner. We make referrals to programs and services much like the classroom practitioners do. So if we find that a learner would benefit from being referred to an employment agency or a social agency of some kind, then we do our best to connect them and support them throughout their learning plan with us. So of course that also includes communication with the classroom practitioner and the online practitioner, making sure that the learner is getting the best support that we can provide. And then of course I already mentioned we have our Facebook and Twitter feeds on our social media. So that brings me to the end of the slides. I will hand the mic back over to Sarah and she can handle the Q&A or move on to the next presenter, whatever the plan is.
Thank you, Courtney. I had planned the Q&A for after the presentations, if I may. So I do see Sarah's important question about the referral process. So we will definitely speak to that shortly. I'd like, if I can now, to turn the presentation over to Arlene Cronin from ACE Distance Delivery. Welcome, Arlene.
Good morning. I'm pleased to be here with all of you this morning, and I'm really happy to have a chance to speak with you about ACE Distance Delivery. ACE Distance Delivery is a high school equivalency program for adult learners that is delivered completely online. It's offered through the college sector for adult upgrading, and we're part of the college family here in Ontario. ACE Distance is recognized as an OSSD grade 12 equivalent by Ontario's community colleges and by the apprenticeship branch, and it's a choice that many adult learners make in order to ensure that they are prepared and have the admission requirements to go into post-secondary programming. Our ACE Distance courses are credentialed, and each course is teacher-led, even though it's delivered in an asynchronous format, which is a fancy word that basically means it's available anytime, anywhere. So because we employ human beings, not robots or slaves, all of our courses are available 24/7, 365. However, when a student is online at 3 o'clock in the morning, the teacher may not be. They may have chosen to sleep at that point. However, all of our faculty are online every single day, so if a student wants to talk to a faculty, it may not happen immediately, but it will happen probably within a very few hours. Our students can, as I said, access our courses anytime, anywhere. The one cautionary thing there is our courses are lengthy because they are academic courses and they're credentialed, preparing students to go to college. Most of them are anywhere from 80 to 120 hours long, which means that their format and their delivery is too big to be done on a smartphone. So students either need to have a PC or a Mac in order to participate in our courses. Of course, they also need a sound internet connection. Once the student has actually registered on our website, there are 3 components to participating in ACE Distance. The first is EASY, which is essential skills for education or employment and education. Learn to Learn, which is our orientation and assessment course, and our actual ACE Distance courses. I should also mention that before I move on, that our ACE courses are also recognized by a growing number of employers when hiring and promoting staff, and we find that many employed workers come back because they recognize, for example, that their writing skills are not great, and so they need a communications course to help them to improve their writing skills if they're being considered for a promotion or if it's an important part of their job on an ongoing basis. Courtney mentioned that Learning Hub is located in the Western region. Technically, ACE Distance is part of the central region, but rather like Santa Claus, we're everywhere. We go from border to border to border to border in Ontario because we're virtual. We don't actually have a physical location. My faculty are located everywhere from Iroquois Falls to Thunder Bay to Toronto and points all in between. So I personally am located in Kingston, so that we cover the map. When a student first comes to ACE Distance, the very first thing we ask them to do is to do the Essential Skills for Employment and Education assessment. And that allows us to see what these learners' functional skills are like in reading, document use, and numeracy. And that's really important for us because our courses are at the grade 11 and 12 level, and as I'm sure all of you as practitioners know, just because a learner says that they can function at that level doesn't necessarily mean they can. So we need to ensure that we are setting students up for success, and that easy assessment is part of doing that to make sure that we're getting students who are ready and able to succeed. If they're not ready, that's not a big deal. We have some things that we can do to help them. We also can refer them to other agencies who are better suited to their skill levels. You'll see that there's a website here, and when you have your handout, I would encourage you to go to the Essential Skills website, because you'll see that there are practice questions available, and we encourage every learner to go up and take a look, check out the practice questions so that they know what they're getting themselves into before they sit down to actually write the reading and document use and numeracy assessments. The easy assessment uses real-life documents that are from business and industry. We worked closely with business and industry to acquire real documents that they were using on a day-to-day basis with their customers and with their employees, and so those were incorporated as much as possible. This assessment has now been around for 4 years, I think, and has been tested by thousands and thousands and thousands of learners. And so it has been determined, we've done, the statistics have been done, and the test is both valid and reliable. It also is available in both English and French. So whether you have a French client or an English client, they can make use of this assessment. There's absolutely no charge for doing this, and so if you have clients that you're not sure about, you may want to tap into this resource for use in making your own decisions. There's a corresponding test called ESOT, which is available for basically it's essential skills for Ontario tradesmen. So if you have folks who want to go into apprenticeships, it also helps them to see what their scores and skills are like, and the materials used are related to the trades. So it may be a tool that would appeal more to trades folks. The easy assessment, I guess I should tell you, covers all adult learners. That's true whether that's your doctor, your lawyer, or the brain surgeon who works in the hospital, or somebody who just arrived in Canada 2 months ago. It's scored using the IELTS 500-point scale. IELTS, for those of you who are not familiar with it, is the International Adult Literacy Scale. And so it gives a pretty good read on just exactly where the learner fits in that 500-point range. And so it does give us a pretty handy, a quick assessment. Once the student has completed easy, the next move is onto our Learn to Learn course. And again, we have 2 facilitators assigned to the Learn to Learn course. It's a course that is 20 hours long, but students are given 30 hours to, or 30 days to complete the course. So if they want to work an hour a day, that's fine. If they want to work 2 hours a day and finish faster, that's also fine. We give that choice up to the student. Actually, this helps us to sort of see how motivated a learner is too, so that somebody who waits till day 29 to decide to tackle the course may not actually be a pretty good choice for online learning. In Learn to Learn, we use a variety of tools to assess students' goals, to help them with career clarification, to develop their own learner plan, and to teach them how to be a successful online learner. Those tools include Smarter Measure, which is a really nice tool that gives feedback on skills strengths as well as skills deficits. It helps the student to learn something more about their own personal attributes in terms of, do they rely on an internal locus of control, or in fact are they motivated by an external locus? What's their learning style? And within the range of learning styles, do they have more than one? In fact, what's their typing speed and their accuracy? We don't think about that too much, but in fact, if you are a hunt and peck typist with big hands, doing an online course may be a bit of a challenge. And so we want people to understand kind of, are they ready, or do they need perhaps to do some online typing drills in order to improve their skills before they move ahead. We also use an indicator called Type Focus, which does career and goal clarification and allows them to do some in-depth exploration of specific occupations. So in fact, if a learner comes along and says, I think I want to be a paramedic, they can do some drill down in terms of what are the skills actually required by a paramedic, what's characteristic of the occupation, and so it gives them a better view that they haven't just picked out a career because it looks glamorous on television or exciting. And lastly, the individual training plan development, which allows our learners to set their goals and to develop their action plan for how they're going to move from where they are on any given day to where they want to be in order to make their dreams come true. We know that the research shows that students who have a clearly articulated goal and a plan for how to get there have much higher retention and success indicators than those who are just sort of wandering around thinking, that sounds interesting. And so by giving them a focus and giving them a clear action plan, whether we're there or not, learners know what they need to do if they want to reach the goal that they have set for themselves. We want to make sure our learners are good candidates for online learning, that they have the appropriate skills to succeed, because we recognize that not everyone's cut out to be an online learner. For those who aren't, we can connect students who would be better served elsewhere with appropriate agencies, and sometimes that's our colleagues in the e-channel group. Sometimes we recognize that or students recognize that they need the comfort of a bricks and mortar classroom with a live teacher on a structured basis, and so we will connect learners with whatever is the appropriate learning vehicle for them because it's their success that counts. Lastly, I would tell you about Learn to Learn. It's a recognized best practice in online learning, and that's one of the reasons why we require it for all of our ACE distance learners. So, once students finish Learn to Learn, and the reality is most students finish it within a couple of weeks, they're ready to move on to our ACE distance courses. And here's the suite of courses that we offer for you: biology, chemistry, physics, communication, self-management and self-direction, computers, core math, apprenticeship math, business math and technology math, and for francophones, anglais langue seconde. We offer all of these courses in both English and French, and so they're accepted when students want to apply to Collège Boréal, or whether they want to apply to Algonquin or to St. Lawrence or wherever. One of the things that might be helpful in terms of connecting your clients to our courses is to have a sense of who our client is. We've been doing online delivery of ACE Distance since 2008, and our learner profile has stayed pretty consistent in that time. Our standard learner is female. She's probably 30 to 44 years of age. She probably is a high school graduate and may have some post-secondary in her background, but now she is interested in applying for a health science program, and because she made some poor choices or in high school, she probably needs biology and chemistry in order to qualify for admissions. We know that over 60% of our learners are employed either full-time or part-time, and many of them are single mothers, and that's one of the reasons why they choose our courses rather than going to a classroom-based program, because they can do our courses whenever it suits them. So if they're working shifts, whether it's at Tim Hortons or Max Milk or in a retail environment, they can work that around when their schedule and their shifts are. We also know that based upon when we look at the analytics, the most common time for our learners to be online is between 9 p.m. and 1 a.m. And that basically says the mother has come home, the student has come home, fed her kids, done her house things, put the kids to bed, and now that the kids are in bed, she's actually has some time to herself. So she sits down at 9:30 and actually tackles her schoolwork. So, and again, this has been consistent since almost day one. One of the things to make sure, we do need to make sure that students are ready to succeed. And so after more than 2,000 of our learners had written the essential skills for education and employment assessment, we actually went ahead and did correlation studies to the grades previous students had earned in ACE distance. And so we were able to then set an entry standard that we require for admission to our specific ACE courses. And you'll see that they vary, so that core math, which is sort of the basic math, is a standard of 250. And if you're familiar with the levels of LBS, 250 is really level 2. A score between 226 and 275 is level 2 in IELTS, and so it's kind of mid-range. You'll see that we offer a couple support courses, math and reading, and so those have lower entrance standards, as does Learn to Learn. However, the senior level maths, particularly technology math, you'll see that there's a reading score of 275 required, plus a math score of 325. Technology math is pre-calculus and is designed for folks who want to go into technology programs, and so it's a very rigorous course, and so we want to make sure that students have the scores they need. If they don't, by taking core math first, they can beef up their skills and be ready then to move on to one of the senior level maths. And actually, we set those standards 3 years ago, and we've only had to go back and alter one of them, which is the admission standard for physics, because we found that although students may be able to cope with the math of physics, often they don't have the conceptual skills, and so we made a minor adjustment in our entry standards for physics. We don't just do academic courses, okay? The other services we provide include numeracy support and communication support, and we know we've been doing that again for a couple of years now, and we do pre and post testing, and we can see enormous improvement in student scores between the time they start and after when they complete the course. Numeracy support we found very interesting. One of the things that we identified was that many learners did not have a problem-solving methodology, so that, for example, when they were presented with a word problem, they had absolutely no clue how to approach it and how to tackle it. And so in the numeracy support course, the very first module that students work on is a problem-solving methodology. So it shows them how to read the question, identify what information is given to them, to focus in on what is it they're being asked to solve for, and then finally to set up whatever is the process or the equation that they'll need in order to find the answer to their questions. And we found that has made a huge difference in student success. We built the rest of the course around using that methodology. So they didn't just sort of learn the methodology, they used it again and again and again, and so it's very strongly reinforced by the time they finish. We also are just finishing off and getting ready to edit 2 podcasts that we have developed. One with dealing with math anxiety, which is a huge issue for many, many learners, and also one on the college application process and admission cycle. We know that for adult learners, we could be speaking Martian often, that they have no idea about things like what are the deadlines for applying? What are you talking about when you're talking about an equal consideration date? Those kinds of things. And we've just finished the first one, but in fact we know that this will be a series of probably 7 or 8 different episodes, so that we'll have one that functions with on financial aid and how students apply for financial aid, the kinds of services available in colleges, and so on. We also, because we're part of the college family, we can connect our learners with college services, and that's a big, broad range. I mean, everything from personal counseling or admission counseling to teaching students who require it assistive technology and training in how to use that assistive technology. Most colleges have tutoring services available for learners. We can connect students with learning disabilities and accommodation services, and we can also, if they want to talk to somebody about what's it like to be a practical nurse, we can connect students directly with the program coordinator and the college staff responsible for the program they're interested in. So there are a whole lot of services that we can provide above and beyond just helping them to acquire the admission requirements. Now, we're good, but we're not we're not totally good. So it takes some partners to make all this work. My ACE distance delivery team is responsible for the assessment and counseling and the course development that we do and keeping our courses fresh. They also do the actual day-to-day teaching of students, and they are responsible for evaluating the learners. Ontario Learn, which is the consortium of Ontario's 24 colleges, which is designed to deliver distance learning online, um, is the host for our courses. And the college actually register our learners and do the record keeping. So because our courses are credentialed, students are registered on the college's student information system, and so next year or 5 years from now or 12 years from now, if they need a copy of their transcript, they can go to the college that they took the course through and get an official copy of that transcript for either an employer or for if they want to move on to college, to another college or whatever. Um, we also have direct CE and distance continuing education and distance education contacts at each college, and the access to support services that I just spoke to. We also have a technology provider, that's Pearson Embanet, and they host our learning management system, which is Moodle, and they provide technical support to our learners and our faculty 24/7, 365, which is wonderful, so that, you know, somebody who is having a technical malfunction at 10 o'clock at night can pick up the phone or do the web chat or send an email to our technical support and have help available immediately. They also provide us with feedback on customer service, and that's why I can tell you that I know what time most students are online, and I can tell you, you know, how many calls for technology help come in per month, because all that is provided for us. And lastly, our fourth partner are our e-channel partners, and we refer out to them on a frequent basis, but they also send us a fair number of learners, because what we want is a seamless system for learners to make sure that we're meeting the needs of the adult learners in Ontario. So, lastly, here's my email address, arlene.ace@gmail.com, my phone number, and so I'm happy to take your call anytime during business hour, and I would encourage you to take a look at our ACE Distance website. Like Courtney and the Learning Hub, we have just done a refresh and an upgrade to our website also, and so we've expanded the frequently asked questions section, and you and your staff may find that there's lots of information that will be useful to you on our website. Thank you for listening, and I'll look forward to your questions during the question period.
Thanks so much. A lot of detailed information being presented this morning. Now I'd like to move, if I can, to Linda Wright to speak about Good Learning Anywhere's programming this morning. Go ahead, Linda.
Good morning, everybody. Sarah, am I coming in okay? Give me a green check mark if you can hear me okay. Excellent, excellent. Okay, thanks everybody. I just want to say, just as we start, Warren Butler put together the presentation and was going to be here for you guys today, but unfortunately that flu bug has hit him. So have a little patience with me as I go through things today. He shot it off to me last night and I've taken a look, so we'll get through this together. So first off, I just want to say thank you, Sarah, for putting this together, and thank you to the networks. You guys do some amazing work out there, and we certainly do take advantage of the tools that you create and the support that you give, the wonderful marketing that goes out through you guys to those sites that you support, as well as the referrals that we get from you guys. So we really do appreciate the work that you guys are doing out there to support agencies and provide clients with services. So I'm going to talk a little bit about what Good Learning Anywhere does. If you're familiar with us and have referred to us, thank you. Some of this will be review for you. If you've never heard of us, looking forward to the questions afterwards. So I'm just going to talk a little bit about what GLA is. I'm going to talk to you about our sharing circles. If you've taken part in those, that's fantastic, and it's always an exciting part of our day is to attend one of those. A little bit about our registration, our instructors and mentors. We're going to talk about those, how we work with the OE, Lcf and Milestones, some of the great new courses that are out right now. We'll take a little look at our website, and I do hope you guys go and explore it on your own afterwards, our fall calendar and our newsletter. So it looks like Warren has a great lineup for us today. So we are Good Learning Anywhere, and we provide free online distance learning opportunities for adult learners in Ontario to assist them in upgrading with their reading, writing, math, computer, and other essential skills. What we are, though, is we do represent the Aboriginal stream. So what we do is we work with the communities and organizations to identify the needs more of Aboriginal clients, and then we develop courses to meet those needs and ensure that our delivery and our process are sensitive to the needs of the clients. So we have some pictures for you. Just if you've ever talked to anybody online, it's always sometimes nice to have a picture to go with the name. So this is the man in charge. This is John Baum, and he has been our executive director for a number of years. He's located in Sioux Lookout, Ontario, which is where our office actually is. This is me, and I don't know where he got that picture from. Warren, and Warren does our marketing and a lot of our information management. And this is David Morris, who we appreciate every 2 weeks when we get our paycheck, and he does so much more for us. He does all our financials, and he's in Sioux Lookout as well. Some of our online educators and mentors, if you've talked to them or taken a course or been in our sharing circles, this is Stephanie and Nida and Clara. Clara's up on Manitoulin Island. And Diana's in Thunder Bay. This is our Sid, who's in North Bay. And I'm sorry, I got Clara and Julie mixed up. This is Clara, and this is Julie. And Julie oversees our sharing circles and does a great job. Again, I don't know where he got these pictures from. I'm going to have to talk to him about that. But this is Leah is in Thunder Bay. Sue is down in Southern Ontario, as is Robin. And Sue, if you've called to register a learner with us or refer someone to us, you've probably talked to Sue, and she is kind of the initial voice you talk to, and she gets people registered and into class. And if there's any issues, she's picking up the phone and talking to people. Robin is our CAMS lady, and we appreciate her every day for the fact that we don't have to get in there and put stuff in, and that she's dealing with it. And we're very, very lucky to have James, and he's a volunteer with us. And this is something we'd like to build on within GLA, because it's really kind of been a neat thing. He's been with us for a couple of years, and he's a retired teacher, and he just likes to still work with clients. So he comes in and teaches our Google Drive courses on sheets and documents and stuff like that. So we're very lucky to have James as part of our GLA family as well. Again, our target audience is working with Aboriginal communities and organizations. We've already kind of talked about this, but to really work and identify meeting the learning goals of the communities and the organizations that we work with, which means we develop courses. Our environment is very flexible to meet the needs of the communities as well, and we work closely with our stakeholders to make sure that our process and our courses are meeting their needs. This is a screenshot of where our clients came from in 2015 and 16 in 220 communities. So we are part of Literacy Northwest, actually, when we went regionalized. And so you can see that we really try to work with some of the communities that are fly-in. We didn't do a lot of traveling last year. We're hoping that's going to change this year with a few targeted communities. We're going to get programs started in the north. Many of the communities that we work with are fly-in in the north, so only accessible by the winter roads or planes. But we do have a lot of activity in the south as well, and do cover most of Ontario with our students and our instructors. So we try to make sure that we have a view of what's going on across the province. Our sharing circles. Give me a green check mark if you've ever attended sharing circles with us. Heard about our sharing circles? Sarah's been there, awesome. Actually, I'm not sure if they have access to tools because they don't have microphones. But so our sharing circles were something that we developed. It's kind of like we wanted people to be able to experience the online platform when we got into a lot of that heavy registration we had to do. But so we wanted people to be able to experience it before they had to go through the registration process. And one of the things we wanted to do was give people a chance to do that. So the idea of the sharing circle came because the power of the online platform and the live classroom is that people can be anywhere in the world, but yet we can bring them in to the communities that we work with. Okay, thanks, Sarah. And so what we have is we've gone down to once a term now. So it's only 3 times a year is really what we're doing the sharing circle in. And our next one is January 16th. And if someone is enrolled in a GLA program, they automatically are enrolled in our sharing circle and are encouraged to come, but it's not mandatory. But this is a unique one in the aspect that we also open this up to anyone that can come. So I've gone to learning centers before, and what we've done is we've actually put it up on a projector. And I remember I was in Hamilton at the Indian Friendship Center there, the program there, and I had a group, and they were very shy about online learning, and so we projected it up onto a wall, and I think it was we had a lacrosse, someone playing in the NLL. That time, Cody Jameson. And what we did is we were projecting it, and Cody was talking, and we had a real lacrosse fan in the back. And what we did is you could see, and someone would say, okay, well do the clappy hands, do the clappy hands. And so I'd hit the clappy hands, and I'd be like, oh, they liked what Cody just said. And the next time they'd be like, oh, hit the happy hands. I'm like, well, you come hit the happy hands. And very hesitantly they come up and hit the icons. But all of a sudden they were doing the work within the online platform, and they were seeing the power of the online platform without having to commit. And then they can choose whether or not, and you can work with your client to see if it's a tool for them. And so what we do is it's a nice coming together of clients that are already using it and new clients, and a time for our staff to come. And we have motivational speakers come. So who we have in January is Kathy, who is an Anishinaabe artist from the Mississaugas of New Credit First Nation, and who's a lifelong learner who has experimented with various forms such as oil paintings, drawings, sculptures, photos, poems, and songs. So like I said, it's an excellent opportunity for learners interested in online learning to experience the online classroom, and it's also an opportunity for learners to find out about First Nations people and culture. So we hope that they walk out motivated and inspired after hearing the remarkable stories that happen in the sharing circle. And that can be signed up for on our, if it's somebody who's not a learner, it can sign up on our registration or on our website. So our registration process, it's open through our website. New learners can directly go and register directly through our website. If there's any registration issues at all, please just give us a call. Current registered learners can reach out to their online mentors to discuss their next course options. Each learner does require their own email address for communication and access to the learning systems. They have to complete all required fields. We have the same reporting requirements as an on-site, so we need to collect all that information and make sure that we get it into the system. And what we do really like to highlight is the consent to share information section, and that allows that communication between us and the on-site, whoever's referring the client to us, to be able to share information and support the client through their process. After the registration form is completed, the learner is directed to an intake assessment page, and we ask, again, just like they would do at an on-site as well, and then within that, there should be about 2 business days, and the client will receive their login credentials. If there's an issue and they need it sooner, please just give us a call. You'll find Sue is very friendly, and she's always willing to chat, so please do just pick up the phone and give her a call if there's any questions about the registration. Sorry, I'm starting to lose my voice. 1 second. I haven't done any of these for a long time. That voice strength isn't there. Mentors. So this came across a few years ago, and I don't know if we have any Grey's Anatomy fans there, but it came out of the fact of our clients need that person or their person, and that it was really something we were talking about. And so we came up with a mentoring system, is that when a client is does register with the Learning Anywhere, they are assigned their person, the mentor, and who will contact them and walk the path with them and assist them with their learning plan and make suggestions and recommendations for the courses and give them referrals to other service providers as well. And so that mentor will be contacting the learner minimum of every 2 weeks is what we like to see, contact back and forth. When learners are not active in their courses and not responding to their mentor's emails and phone calls, we begin the exit process for the client after a reasonable amount of attempts to make contact. So we do find that a learner will have more success when they are active in their courses and active in communication with their mentor as well. So if you do have someone in our program, please do encourage them to make sure that they're checking their email and responding to their mentor and talking to them as well throughout, so that they can check in and make sure. It's also important to have that connection, right, with someone. We can sit at a computer and look at it, but if someone's waiting for a response from us, it's a little more pressure. So we want to just make sure that we're encouraging our clients to check in with their mentor, and if they want to sign up for more courses, their mentor's there to help them do that. Talked a little bit about consent to share. Whoops, did I miss one? Yes, I did. So Lcf and Milestones are with the framework. GLA does follow the OELCF and administers milestones online. LBS programs can work with e-channel leads as partners with both agencies can take credit for administering a milestone to the learner. It's an easy way to ensure the LBS programs are getting credit for the work they're doing with the learners as well when you refer to the online. Again, we have the same reportings as reporting requirements as the on-sites do as well. And consent to share, I mentioned it briefly before, but again, with the consent between learners and programs, LBS programs and e-channel leads can share the learner plans and work together for the learner to ensure the learner's needs are being met. So it avoids duplication and redundancies and ultimately helps the learner achieve their goal more quickly. Again, that's right in the registration form, and we just encourage that part to be filled out when they're registering. So some of the exciting stuff we have coming up, again, GLA has a lot of live courses, and especially we deliver those between September and June. And so we've got Beginner's Guide to the Internet coming up. In the live classes, it's just like this, and they have an instructor that's walking them through the entire process. Getting to know mobile devices starts November 16th. And preparing for a zombie apocalypse and real emergencies too. So this one, again, is an example of something that comes out of our community request. Is we have Saskatchewan gets flooded out almost yearly. And so this is one that was developed as a response to that, and as to, I think, another community had to be evacuated due to a forest fire. And so within the community, there was discussion about needs of what do you take with you and that type of thing, and how do you respond to something like this. And there was a lot of stuff, and so what we thought is, what about developing a course that talks about, okay, the plane's going to land, you know you're evacuating at 6 o'clock tonight, what are you going to take, and what are you going to do to, what are the steps you're going to take? So we started to put that together, and have to admit, the first time it was what didn't have the zombie apocalypse title in it, but after the first time it was taught and The Walking Dead was big, the instructor realized that most of the examples happened to be around zombies, so the name did get changed. But it does talk about emergency planning, and it's important for any client to take, no matter whether you're living in Attawapiskat or you're living in downtown Toronto. Emergencies do happen. We also deliver on the Moodle platform as well, and the 2 new courses this year that we're offering are Office Administration Essential Skills and Ready for Work, which is kind of a Moodle version of our Ontario Works Job Readiness program that we're now offering in a more independent module. It's available 24/7 and available to start anytime as well. The CTE courses, career introduction courses, are still, we started them last year and they're still available. They've been very popular for those learners who have good time management skills, specific career goals, and a strong work ethic and commit to the learning. Each of these courses are rather lengthy and could take a few months to complete. It all depends really on the learner and the pace that they want to complete and the time they have to do so. We find it's important for a learner to dedicate at least an hour a day or 5 hours a week minimum to get ahead in these courses. Sometimes we will have learners that want to learn about specific topics in these careers, so please have the learner contact their mentor, and we can look at potentially customizing these courses for the learners. And so it's really important for them to kind of communicate. So if you do have clients that are interested in these types of courses, it's good to connect with the mentor so they can help really define whether it's the whole course or just part of it that they're interested in. They can be found under workplace skills on our registration form. And the comment section is also a good place to let us know anything that is not captured in the registration form. So you can put in extra comments, and that really helps if one of your sites is referring a learner to us, or you're referring a learner to us to understanding any specific needs that might not be captured in the form. Our website is there and full of fantastic information. I encourage you all to go and explore it later today. We certainly, our courses are there, how to register is there, logins are there. You're able to take a look at some stories and hear about the sharing circles. And again, being able to register is right online too. The Fall 2016 course is posted online, and you can download the most recent version of the website from the website there for distribution if you're interested in it. Ways to keep in touch. Newsletter. We promise we don't send out the newsletter every day. It won't bog down your inbox, but I do encourage you to sign up for it, and it does have useful information about upcoming courses or events. Warren does a really good job of sending that out and writing it up. It talks about our Learners of the Month also, which we recognize one learner every month on reaching their, or working towards or reaching their goals. That's an exciting part of our weekly staff meetings is the Learner of the Month voting, and it's quite funny is we use this platform for our staff meetings and we put up the names and then people start making their cases and then we have a big vote on who our Learner of the Month is, and it's pretty exciting, and it's great to hear the stories of the learners, and that's posted on our website as well. Another great way to keep in touch with us is Facebook. We do post on there as well. Upcoming courses and events too is another good place to keep in touch. So we're going to do questions at the end, and contact you guys. Whoops, contact is there, and I'm sure Sarah's going to share it afterwards as well, and it's also on our website. So thank you, Sarah, and we'll look forward to questions at the end.
Thanks so much, Linda, for telling us about Good Learning Anywhere and about your programming. Now, as I mentioned at the outset, sickness and issues have hit a couple of our service providers hard this morning, and in order to do them some justice, I have added the course guide for Formation à distance, the service for Francophone learners, which some of your networks may have. It may not be possible for all of you to download this file during the session. For instance, Mac users may have additional challenges, but I will add this as one of the resources that I follow up our session with when I send the email with resources. So do know that there are English language pages in this guide. Pages 8 to 11 are in English and explain the programming that Formation à distance offers, and you will find their contact information. So I'm going to go on to another file for Deaf Learn Now. DeafLearn Now is providing programming in ASL using video links for deaf and hard of hearing learners in the province. So if any of your networks are in contact with deaf organizations or have need of information, again, this is a resource that I'll also share after the webinar, but I did want you to know that their presenters certainly had intended to be with you, and I'm sorry they aren't. I won't take too much more time away from questions, but we're aware that questions that frequently come up might be addressed by the e-channel information and referral guide, and I did want to highlight that that guide is available to all of you. It is distributed through the learning networks, and from time to time there are updates of contacts, etc. So I will repost it if there are changes. It's also available on the e-channel.ca site that we at Contact North manage. I know that some of the questions that may come up in discussion might be the same as what are in that frequently asked question section of the e-channel information and referral guide. So I just wanted to let you see that some of these things that might have been crossing your minds are addressed in that guide. And if you aren't familiar with it, I really would recommend you take a look. Time doesn't permit for us to go through all of these right now. I know I am deliberately skimming through them very quickly, but just to let you know the kinds of things that are addressed, the guide also provides all of the e-channel service providers' contact information, referral guidelines, assessment information, and follow-up information. So please be aware that this is an important resource if you are interested in working with eChannel or telling your member organizations or other contacts in Employment Ontario about eChannel. I really did want to take a moment to point this out to you. Now, I am going to just go now to the questions that have been raised. I know that there have been a number of excellent questions about whether or not the e-channel providers refer to the networks, and there is a lot of information in referrals. I wonder if I pass the microphone on at this point to Sarah Gill. If Sarah, you would like to ask any follow-up questions at this point of the e-channel providers, because you raised some excellent questions in the text chat. I've given you the mic, Sarah, if you're there and you click, go ahead.
Hi, Sarah. Can everybody hear me? Sarah, just maybe give me a green check. Yeah, thanks. Yeah, thank you. Excellent presentation, and I've since in the interim gone and subscribed to all your newsletters. So I certainly look forward to getting additional updates. Yeah, just a question in terms of referring, and I think it was addressed in the text chat a little bit as well. Just kind of a reminder to the e-channel providers that your learning networks, your local networks, can be a great support for you across the province if you have a learner that you're hoping to get some on-the-ground support. So whether that be like a local literacy program or training or otherwise, or wraparound referral, we certainly have the capacity to kind of help in that regard.
Thanks so much, Sarah. And any comments from our e-channel presenters to the questions you've seen and to some degree you've addressed from Sarah before I go on to any others? Go ahead, Arlene.
Thank you, Sarah. I think we just all want to reinforce that one of the questions that keeps coming up is cost. Free is a good number because we're all supported by the Ministry of Advanced Education and Skills Development to provide our programming, and so all of our programming is free to your learners. So it doesn't get much better than that.
That's an important point. Thanks very much, Arlene. And I go ahead, Courtney.
I just noticed that Tamara had a question regarding the shared learners and paperwork and so on. Unfortunately, we both programs, being the online e-channel program and the in-person LBS classroom program, do require learners to complete the registration form, participate in our own individual assessments, or share those assessment results. Upon registration with the Learning Hub, the learner can provide their teacher's contact information if they have one at the time, and include or release consent for us to communicate with their classroom teachers, any other support people they have in place, contact North recruitment officers, things like that. So we do try to address that whole consent piece up front so that we do have the freedom to communicate if we know who the parties are right in the beginning. So, unfortunately, we both have to do a registration form. We both have to have a learner plan. But just specifically regarding the milestones, we do issue the milestones online. And we do understand that the paper-based milestones are issued in the classroom. The Centers for Employment and Learning have a classroom-based LBS program as well. So if a learner is working towards the same competency in the classroom and online, we can decide. It can be a conversation between the two practitioners, classroom and online. Who's going to administer the milestone? What works best for the learner? Does it work better for me to administer a milestone for this competency and you to administer one for this competency? Or if we're only working towards the same piece, we're both working on, algebra, for example, if they do complete it in the classroom or online, and we do know that the results have been attained or not attained, we can put them into CAMS, and the result is either attained in the classroom or attained online. So that is an option within CAMS. We don't actually have to share the milestone results, I don't believe, at least not to my knowledge, just that the communication has to be there that it was legitimately completed and what the results.
My apologies for switching screen. The preview was too small for me to see. I was trying to find the milestone one in the FAQs. Arlene, go ahead, please.
I would reinforce what Courtney has to say in terms of like the Learning Hub, we also are happy to have shared learners, and we're not interested in body snatching your folks, so that we share the milestones. We do ours online also. We also, if you have a learning plan, we're happy to accept your learning plan and just add our bits to it so that if that works for you. And we also ask the learner to sign consents up front so that we can connect with your folks, because we found that that really, really does contribute to a more successful experience for most learners. That if our people are able to talk with your folks, then in fact we're all pointing in the same direction. I should tell you that we've done quite a lot of work with blended learning because particularly with science courses, most people don't have the facilities to sort of be able to offer a course like chemistry or biology, except in a most theoretical format, whereas we've built our courses to be experiential and hands-on and interactive with learners, so that we've built, for example, chemistry and biology experiments into our courses that learners participate in. So we often have classroom-based programs that register their learners for one of our science courses because it gives them the best quality experience that they can get to acquire that knowledge before they move on to post-secondary programming. Thanks.
Thanks so much, Arlene. Now, I want to pose the question about the Canadian language benchmark. Anne-Marie Curtin has submitted. Do the Canadian language benchmark levels need to be taken into consideration? I'll put that to any of our presenters. Okay. Nobody's, thank you. Arlene, go ahead.
I guess it all depends on the level of programming, doesn't it? Our communication support course, for example, is able to provide some support, particularly for second language learners, and so that, or those um, who are newcomers to Canada and don't have a whole lot of experience. However, with our academic course, yes, Canadian language benchmarks do need to be considered, just because we know the level of performance required of learners, and so um, we wouldn't turn a student away because of how they had tested out in CLBs, but in fact, the easy screening would probably give us a better sense of what we would need to do to support that learner.
Thank you, Arlene. And Courtney, I know you had your hand up, but would you like to add anything about the Canadian language benchmark?
No, thanks to Arlene. That's fine.
Thanks so much. And I'm wondering, Luke, if you felt that you had enough information provided regarding your question about the recording in the learner plan that's necessary for milestone activities for a shared learner. Could you give me a green check mark, Luke, if you think you've gotten enough information on that? Okay, thanks so much. Now, I know that the e-channel providers sometimes have questions about making more fulsome referrals to networks and to community services. Arlene, would you like to kick that off?
Oops. Yes, sure, Sarah. I'd be happy to open that conversation. Sometimes getting contact information um, is very, very, very challenging in terms of who do we direct questions or referrals to within your organizations. That would be really, really useful information for us to have, or at least for me, because we're everywhere. For example, I have a pretty good sense of in the area that I live in. The rest of the province sometimes seems to be a mystery, and so it would be really, really helpful. Is there an information and referral guide for your agencies that we can access? Because that would be most useful.
I don't know if there's anyone who would like to speak to that or make a comment. I know that you are all aware of 211, but because we are in e-channel provincial organizations, what Arlene speaks to is commonly a challenge for all of us, and we all also sometimes have hurdles in getting accurate information in 211. I can let you know, for instance, that Contact North has for several months been trying to make sure that we're not listed as a literacy regional network, and we are still fighting that battle. So it is an important concern to all of us. And now, I don't know if any of the other e-channel providers, oh, sorry, I see, Tamara, you have a question, and I'm glad I finally noticed. Let me give you access to your microphone. Go ahead, Tamara, please.
Hi, can you hear me, Sarah?
I can.
Okay. I just wanted to respond to Arlene's question. To be honest, sometimes we struggle with making local referrals because programs come and they go, and when you talk about wraparound supports, there are just so many potentially in urban areas that we could refer to. So I can't speak for all regional networks, but I would think it might be simpler for e-channel providers if they use the regional networks as a first point of contact if you have questions about a particular kind of support in a specific geographical area.
That's an excellent practical solution. Now, I wonder, Tamara, while we've got you on the mic, if you would like to speak to any more of the kinds of feedback you've had from some of the organizations in Literacy Link South Central's region about some of the challenges they speak to in referrals to eChannel, or questions that come out of that. I'm not trying to make this a complaint session, just trying to pass on information or follow up to that.
Well, thanks, Sarah. I guess attending this session, honestly, has been very eye-opening for me. I would have thought of myself as being fairly well informed of the e-channel services, but I kind of have a feeling, and this is good going into business planning time, that there's a lot more that our network could and should do to keep e-channel and blended learning in the forefront of our practitioners' minds, particularly around how we can work more effectively to ensure that learners don't bear any cost of communication challenges, right? Because they're going to happen no matter what, right? No matter what kind of work you do, there are always communication challenges. So it seems to me, when I looked at the initial chart that was provided, I believe, by Courtney, in terms of the usage rates, you know, like 7% for my area. So, I mean, I want to put it more on the radar through our literacy service planning processes this year. And I'll just ask for your forgiveness if I reach out and ask any of you, which probably, you know, what may sound like a foolish question, but around how to work better with each other for the sake of the learners. Because we have heard stories, as I mentioned in the text chat, about you know, learners who have been asked to do the same milestone twice, right? Could be a one-off, who knows? But just on the off chance that it may not be a one-off, I think I need to take more responsibility as a regional network for making the profile of each channel a little higher.
Thank you, Tamara. And are there any comments from our e-channel service providers or any follow-up? Please go ahead, Arlene.
Tamara, I think all of us would really welcome the opportunity to connect to your service providers. I think that anything that we can do to enhance the learner experience and I think is to all of our advantages. And so, in fact, even if they only spend a brief time with us, we all win. And most importantly, the learner wins.
Absolutely. Courtney, go ahead.
Yeah, this is just a comment for Tamara. I know that the Learning Hub did a presentation with your network a year and a half or so ago. You know, we are happy to stay in contact in that way. Any type of presentation that we do to the networks, we've met with a couple other networks in the past year. I mean, and you know, back in early days, we met with quite a few of you. You know, we do include information regarding all of eChannel. So certainly, if we're you know, we're close geographically, so if at any point you wanted us to come back for some type of, you know, training or even webinar format works too. I know it's not always as effective when the practitioners are looking for that hands-on piece, but certainly we're here to connect. So just don't be afraid to reach out, and your questions are always welcome, no matter what they are.
Tamara, I think you still have, I'm not quite sure what word I stole, but over to you.
It was absolutely. And I guess one of the things I'm trying to think of is, you know, as e-channel providers, of course, your time is also limited. And I really value your willingness to come out and speak to individual networks. But if we all took you up on that, you might be making, you know, 16 different presentations. So in the back of my brain, I'm thinking, well, how can we get this information out? You know, is there a way for us to get information out more systematically, right? As opposed to, well, my network just happened to contact the hub, but I didn't contact the other e-channel providers, and a few years go by, et cetera, et cetera. So I was hoping that there'd be higher attendance on this webinar today, because it seems like it's a way to make information available in a broader way. But I'm interested in thoughts around how to ensure that the majority of our practitioners and managers have information on all the e-channel providers? Maybe that's too much to ask, I don't know.
It's a very important question, Tamara, and Arlene, I think you want to respond.
Yes, I do, actually. Tamara, one of the things that the e-channel group has been working on and thinking about for the last many months is how do we reach out and get ourselves a little bit better known and raise the profile of e-channel in the province. And so right now, actually, this week, we're recording individual podcasts, an introduction to online learning and an introduction to each one of the e-channel providers. So as Sarah has just put up on the screen, watch for our podcast coming very soon, because we are in fact just finishing off recording those this week.
Thanks, Arlene. And I really appreciate our audience staying with us for the full hour and a half and more for some of you who came in early for the orientation. Are there other questions? And thanks, Heather, for your comment that brochures that can be had on hand in local service providers are really helpful and easy to use. I don't know if all of the providers at this point have brochures. Would you like to speak to that? Any of our service providers?
We do have brochures. I think I speak for everyone when, you know, the information on the website is always the most current, right? I mean, we can print materials and course guides and things like that, but certainly we have sent out electronic versions of our documentation. We do have our course guides and that available on the website. We do have brochures and contact cards and things like that that we take everywhere we go. So we have mailed some out before. You know, going back to Tamara's comment, of course, if every network requested it, you know, it can add up. But certainly, if you're looking for paper-based stuff, just ask.
Thanks very much, Courtney. And I will add that on the e-channel.ca site that Contact North maintains to help promote the information of the e-channel service providers, in this same practitioner area that I had put up on the screen, we also have an e-channel information or brochure, which does provide information for each of the e-channel providers. And Luke, oh, sorry, my text chat jumped. So thanks for your comment about looking at that e-channel site. Sorry, my text chat jumped again. Danielle, thank you for that. Luke, we can see that the targeted strategic monitor visit is something in focus for their organization. If a learner does a milestone online, how will the on-site providers explain the lack of documentation in their files? Any of our service providers able to speak to that?
So, Luke, your question is if the milestone is completed online and you record it in your classroom service plan for the learner as completed on e-channel or whatever the exact terminology is, what do you put in your paper file? So I'll just carry on with that then. You know, we have access to look at your classroom service plan and vice versa. It's not something that we, you know, go out and make a point of doing unless there's information that we've agreed upon sharing or that we're specifically requiring. We have, you know, just from our classroom program, maybe I'll explain how we would do it. We would perhaps print off the milestone score sheet, indicate that it was attained online through e-channel. and just file that. Or if you have some other type of activity tracking sheet that you put on, I'm not sure the setup of your paper files, obviously. You don't want to take credit for something that's not yours, but at the same time, it is appropriate to indicate that the milestone was attained in eChannel and that you're recording it in your service plan as well. So your ministry rep would have access to see the information in the eChannel service plan, the same you would, to indicate that it was there. And I would just put some type of notation in the file, whatever you're comfortable with your paper structure, indicating what the milestone was, when it was completed, that it was attained, and if it was attained through eChannel. That would be my suggestion. It's a good question. I might take it back to my ETC to make sure that our classrooms are doing it properly with the shared milestones as well. But I think as long as you have a paper trail and the information is in CAMS, that it is accurate and true.
And Arlene, probably the last word, because I have to respect everyone's time this morning. Go ahead.
No problem. I would concur with Courtney that their process is very much like theirs. However, I would also say that depending upon how fussy your ETC is, we can actually provide you with a hard copy of the learner's score sheet, because every one that's done comes into my inbox, and so that it's no big deal to forward that on to you. So that if you actually need to print out the submission, you can do that and put it in your file. That's it for me.
That sounds like a wonderful solution. Thank you. Now, I really want to thank all of our eChannel providers this morning. Like you, they're all service providers managing incredibly busy programs with little capacity to do all the marvelous things they're doing. So a big hand to them and to you, who are also coming, I think, from the same environment. All I would ask is that you let your regional networks know if you have any follow-up questions on eChannel, and I know that they direct those to me, and I will definitely relay them to our service providers. I want to let you know that following today's webinar, which has been recorded, I am going to send out the resources we spoke about this morning. I am going to send the evaluation link, which you may not have been able to take note of in the text chat, and I would ask that you complete the evaluation if you can. And just thank you all for your time today, and have a great day.
Thank you, Sarah, and everyone else who was able to attend. Appreciate it.
Have a good day.